Sunday, the Commanders welcome back a familiar face to FedExField as Kirk Cousins and the red-hot Vikings come to the nation's capital. We preview his trip back to D.C. as an opponent. Plus, offensive coordinator Scott Turner has been getting creative with his wide receivers on offense. We send Logan Paulsen into the film room to highlight their success in Indy. And Indianapolis native Terry McLaurin is riding high after his emotional homecoming. We catch up with Commanders captain as the team prepares for Minnesota. Dan and Tanya Snyder and the Washington Commanders announced today that they have hired Bank of America Securities to consider potential transactions. The Snyders remain committed to the team, all of its employees, and its countless fans to putting the best product on the field and continuing the work to set the gold standard for workplaces in the NFL. And in further news, well, he is back. The Commanders have officially designated pass rusher Chase Young to return to practice today. Starting the 21-day clock, the team has to activate him to the active roster. The former Defensive Rookie of the Year tore his ACL back in Week 10 of last season against the Bucs. So far, Young has appeared in 24 games with Washington, recording 9 sacks, 6 forced fumbles, and a touchdown. And with that, we welcome you on into Command Center. Julie Donaldson here with you, along with London Fletcher and Santana Moss. It's an exciting day when number 99 is back on the field. It brings a little bit of extra energy as well, London.
Oh, absolutely. You know, when you talk about Chase and him being back on the football field, we see the energy he has on the sideline when he's not playing, but just a great day to be able to see him back out on the field, and hopefully he'll be able to return to the games, over the next couple weeks.
Soon enough.
I think it's a big plus. I think our defense has been playing exceptionally well, and just to know you can have an added addition in a guy like Chase. If he can get back to we're not going to expect too much from him right now, but when he gets back comfortable and get back in the rhythm and the flow of things, man, you can actually be anticipating him to be himself.
Well, he is somebody that you do have to pay attention to when he is out there. Of course, we'll just wait and see until he gets to game action. Meanwhile, of course, with the trade deadline, the team did trade William Jackson III over to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I think that's a move we probably anticipated the team wanting to make. Wish him the absolute best in Pittsburgh. Yeah. Now, this weekend, the Commanders return to FedExField to face the 6-1 Minnesota Vikings. The NFC North leaders are led by a pair of familiar faces. Kirk Cousins, originally a 2012 draft pick by Washington, being led by first-year head coach Kevin O'Connell, as he once served as offensive coordinator here in Washington. Kind of hard to believe this is going to be the first time that Kirk Cousins will be returning to FedExField since he did leave for Minnesota after being here for 6 years. And he's got Minnesota Vikings kind of trending in the right direction there. Many are saying they're going to go out and win the division early on, but a lot of it is because he's got some pretty good weapons as well, Santana Moss. What concerns you the most about Kirk coming back to town?
I think the passing game. One of the things you stated earlier is, he's not turning the ball over, and he's been placing the ball very well to those guys on the outside. You have Thielen, you have Jefferson, you have Osborne, a Miami guy who I know very well. Those guys have been putting up some numbers. And then not to mention or not to add, he has a pretty good running back. So if you think about Cook, when that guy get himself going, man, we could be in trouble. So hopefully our defense can put up some of the numbers that they've been putting up in the past, these past few weeks, and go out there and still make these guys a few times.
Yeah, when you look at the offense that Kevin O'Connell has brought to the Minnesota Vikings, it's that Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, outside zone stretch and play action pass. It's tailor-made for Kirk and his skill set. We're going to have our hands full with those 3 receivers on the outside. How we match up with them defensively with our defensive backs. Is St. Jude's going to follow Justin Jefferson, and will we do those types of things? But defensively, we're also going to have to get pressure in the face of Kirk Cousins, see if we can make him feel uncomfortable.
Do you want someone to follow Jeffries, knowing that they have other options as well?
You know what? I think when you look at him and the way they utilize Jefferson, he plays outside and he plays the slot. Our best corner right now has been, Benjamin St. Juice. Yeah. Do you want to have a steady dose of Wild Goose having to cover him in the slot? I don't know if that would necessarily be the best game for us.
I think it's fair. I think it's fair to put St. Juice in that situation and say, hey, this guy come inside, then I want you to check this guy inside because he has the best, when it comes to skill set and covering those guys like a Jefferson inside. No, don't get me wrong. Wild Goose has been playing exceptionally well, but I don't want to see Wild Goose having to go against a number 1 guy. You want to bring in somebody who's playing at that number 1 caliber in St. Juice to play their number number one wide receiver, which I think Jefferson is going to probably get a lot of action.
You think about Benjamin. He started off the season playing in the slot.
Yeah.
He's played outside now, so he has the versatility to be able to do both. And I think also from a standpoint, you're trying to determine he can play inside and play zone. He can play outside and play inside and play man-to-man. So it also doesn't necessarily give the coverage away to the Minnesota Vikings.
Exactly.
It'll be interesting to see if that's the route we choose to go defensively.
Yeah, and if you talk about their run game, it might not be too intimidating to start, even though you mentioned Dalvin Cook, because they rank 21st in the league despite having a back that can do some major damage on the ground. But they did just put up 174 against the Cardinals, so definitely not overlooking that game as well. Look, they're also coming in on a 3-game winning streak of their own, so both teams looking to try to extend it to 4 games in a row. But look, it's not going to be an easy out. Okay, so soon we'll be seeing Kirk Cousins coming here. And now one of the reasons Washington is actually doing pretty well and having success as of late has been their ability to spread the ball on offense. The Commanders have 7 different players with over 100 receiving yards on the season, and 6 players have at least 1 receiving touchdown. Now for more on how Scott Turner is getting his wide receivers involved, let's go to Logan Paulsen inside the film room.
Julie, thanks so much. And today we're going to take a look at something that I think is super interesting, and it's how do offensive coordinators create concepts that have answers versus multiple plays? And I think when you look at how this offense has been successful over the last couple of weeks, Scott Turner's done a great job of that. Now, if you look at this Colts team, they run a ton of cover 3, and all cover 3 is it's 3 players deep, 1, 2, 3. We'll count them up again, 1, 2, 3, and you have 4 players underneath, and these players all have zone coverage responsibilities. 1, 2, 3, and the 4th guy's right there. 4. Okay, so let's just count them up so everyone can see it. 4. This is what they play 80% of the time, but they do throw in some man-to-man coverage. So when you're calling a concept, you have to make sure it's excellent versus this, and also excellent versus man-to-man coverage. So on this play, this is like a deep crossing route here, deep crisscross, and clear, and then there's someone that gets to the flat. I forget who, let's say flat. So what this does versus cover 3 is it ensures that the deep thirds player to this side is occupied, the hook player to this side is occupied, so this player is occupied, this player is occupied, creating a huge void in the defense right here. However, they like to sprinkle in man-to-man, like we've said, but this route is also good versus man-to-man coverage. So let's take a quick look as to why that is. So you get the same response by the corner. He's going to match this guy going vertical, right? So that guy's out of the picture. This guy, the nickel player, is going to run across the field with Cam Sims. Excellent so far, and then you get the back to the back, though. That's why these checkdowns are so important. This guy going to the flat and this guy matching him is critical. So by doing this, look at the structure that's starting to take shape. You've got these 3 players opening up a huge void for Curtis in man-to-man coverage. And again, Curtis has to know that in man-to-man situations, he's got to run this route a little bit different. At the beginning of this play, he's able to get a nice natural pick. That's a good thing about crossing routes with the defender here on his own player, and creates a little bit separation. And when you're running a deep concept like this and you're super fast, that's one way to win versus man. So that's what he does here. Excellent ball by Taylor, understanding where the void's going to be. And you can't draw this up much better than this. Like, look at this space here in this defense just because of the design. And it would have been the same thing if it was cover 3, because you're challenging the defensive rules. Now, next play is the 4th down play that to Curtis. And the same thing is happening here. It's a little bit more obviously man. Excuse me. Get man-to-man coverage. Everybody's matched up here. Man here, and he's got the tight end. So everyone knows that it's man. It's high leverage situation. Gus Bradley likes to call that man-to-man coverage in those situations. And you end up with a good concept by Scott versus cover 3 or man coverage. Again, you get that nice 3-level throw. 1, 2, 3, which would be good versus cover 3, but it's also good versus man-to-man coverage because Curtis understands that it's man. And watch how he runs this route here to beat man-to-man coverage on a corner route. You see how he's running across the formation here? The defensive back now matches his shoulders to think that he's running across the formation. Excellent job by Curtis to set this up. And then let's rewind a little bit, check this out. Love the little double stick here at the top. This is exactly what you want. Break down, throw the defender by, and get into this window that is, again, ensured by our guy, Cam Sims, running off. Logan Thomas to the flat. Look at this void here on 4th down. It's hard to create this kind of open space in the NFL, but the receiver understands that it's man, and the concept supports him, which is fantastic. So again, excellent ball, throwing with anticipation, understanding where the hole in the defense is going to be. Receiver deserves a ton of credit. quarterback deserves a ton of credit, and also Scott deserves a ton of credit. So now, again, early on in the game, they also had this cover 3 beater called. They motion out. We get this man zone indicator. You can tell everybody's in man coverage here. Man, 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 man. Now it's up to Taylor to pick his best matchup, but the players also need to understand that even though this is a good cover 3 beater here, because you're getting a 2-on-1 on the safety here, this is also good versus man, and Taylor needs to go with the football. Taylor knows that my best matchup is to Terry here in this route, and this is usually just a timing route. It's a little hesitation to set this up from a timing standpoint, but I think Terry knows that it's man, and watch the double stick here. Watch him set this guy up, and then now he's in space. And this is something, if I was a DB, I would hate to see, because Terry's excellent in space. But there is a fantastic example of how Scott, through play selection, does a fantastic job of putting these guys in the best position to be successful by saying, this is the route versus cover 3, this is the route versus man, and players are starting to understand that. I think that's the sign of a healthier office. Looking forward to see what these guys do in coming weeks.
Get ready, Commanders fans, because the Vikings, they are coming to town. You can get your tickets now for the matchup on November 6th at 1 p.m. Tickets start at just $44. It is our annual Salute to Service game. We will be honoring our military with a service scarf and a hat giveaway. Visit commanders.com/tickets to get yours. Still to come, we send London and Santana down to the practice field to see how the guys are preparing for the Vikings. And Terry McLaurin had a big day in last week's game against his hometown team. He joins us to reflect on his performance when we return. This is our FedExField Pass, where now meets next.
Tana, the Predator is back, man. Chase Young has returned to the practice field. He's been cleared to practice.
Yeah. Been waiting for this day, man. You know, it's great to see him out here. I'm looking at him now. I see his hands on his hips, so you already know that sign. Like, oh, I've been doing this stuff on the side, but now it's getting a little real. But it's great to see him out here, man. I'm not going to anticipate what we're going to see this week, you know, going forward. But it's just great to know that he's back and moving forward, he'll probably be playing soon.
Yeah, I'm sure you mentioned, you know, Chase with his hands on his hips. A lot of that could be also with just the anticipation of being out here, practicing with your guys, and just to have him on the field. I know that's a tremendous boost from an energy standpoint for the guys. We know the talent. There'll be a process of him needing to get back into football shape. Mm-hmm. You know, just with the type of injury that he had, you just can't all of a sudden go from rehab to playing on Sunday with 3 days of practice. It's going to need a little bit more, you know, just from a conditioning, building him up. And, I could definitely see him playing next week against the Eagles. I'm not quite sure about this week against the
Regardless
Vikings.
of what he brings us at this point in our season, it'll be a plus. I think, you know, with what these guys have displayed so far, it's been a major improvement up front with our defensive line and our linebackers and, you know, our defense as a whole. So to have that energy back, to have that guy who we know what he can be at full strength with the guys that has already been out there going to war with each other, man, it's great to know that we're going to be getting some help from somebody that we know was, you know, basically a Pro Bowler his first year, you know, out there with the guys.
Yeah, I just saw where Coach Z, Jeff Scanina, the defensive line coach, you know, correcting Chase on his attacking the pass, like things like that you're going to see just from a technique standpoint and things that you haven't done. And I tell you what, though, it's going to be a great feeling to see once 99 does take on the field. But one thing we have to think about, though, too, we know these our defensive backs will have a major challenge going against the wide receivers of the Minnesota Vikings and also Kirk Cousins, who we both were teammates with.
Yeah. I mean, you know, one of the things that stand out to me, man, me and B. Mitch were talking about this Sunday night after the game was over. We was happy about the win, but the first thing we thought about is like, hey, next week, you know, it's a challenge. One, Kirk's coming back home. You know, they can say what they want to say about Kirk Cousins, man. I've always been a fan of him, and I like what he's doing this year. Kirk, he's a very, I guess you could say one of the things that he does well, he's a great anticipator.
Yeah.
He knows how to put the ball into the spot to where you need to be or you ought to be. And with the guys that he have, Thielen, Jefferson, Osborne, those 3 guys alone has been doing damage. So
and they just traded for T.J. Hockenson.
T.J. Hockenson, not to mention, you know what I mean? But first thing that came to mind, just knowing our defensive backs, man, and where we've been at this year, I want to see something different. We understand the scheme here has allowed these guys to play a little off coverage at times. But I think, different challenges makes you have to change what you're doing or get out your box a little bit and try to present them something different. And I think one of the things that stood out to me, it's a copycat league. The Eagles played these guys very well. This is a team in our division that you can watch that film and say, hey, we need to take a script out of their book and we need to do the same thing. You want to be disruptive. You don't have to be great at using your hands with these guys, but if you get in their face enough, you make it hard for Kirk to decide where he want to go with the ball, and then you let our guys up front eat. So that's something that stands out to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait to see the matchup. Wait to see the game plan that Jack Del Rio and the defensive coaching staffs comes up to stop this Minnesota Vikings potent offense, potent passing game. All right, back to you, Julie.
Okay, good stuff, guys. Commanders wide receiver Terry McLaurin is coming off of an emotional Week 8, which saw him record a season-high 113 yards in his return to his hometown of Indianapolis. With over 70 friends and family in attendance, it made Sunday's victory over the Colts all the more special, especially with McLaurin setting up the game-winning touchdown with a huge goal line catch in the game's final minute.
Terry, it feels like it was just yesterday, man. We were just talking about you going back home. You got a lot of family and friends coming to the game.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me, bro, what was the feeling like, man?
That was a surreal feeling to be back home, and the reception that I got. I had all my family there, but I saw a lot of people that I've known throughout my life in Indianapolis there as well. I saw my third-grade teacher there with his son. You know what I mean? He was my third-grade teacher. Now I'm meeting his son and signing his jersey. So a lot of full-circle moments. Marvin Harrison coming up to me, talking to Reggie Wayne.
Yeah.
Even in the halftime ceremony, seeing those former legends. So the festivities was great, but the best part was winning the game. You know what I mean?
First and foremost.
Definitely. And that was my main goal going into that week, is to enjoy the week, but also make sure I could do whatever I can to help us win.
I remember you sitting there talking to me in London on the Players Club and saying, your main goal was to win.
Yeah.
But not only did we win the game, you went out there and sealed it almost.
Yeah.
That catch. We could talk about all the other plays you made, but, let's talk about the main thing. The main thing. Keep the main thing the main thing. That catch to put us down there and give us a chance to go up and to score, to have the last touchdown of the game or whatever. How was that? Can you even just imagine you having that moment, knowing that you're home for the first time in front of all your fans and friends?
Yeah, I didn't know it was going to come up that way. I honestly didn't. But you can't ask for a better situation for the ball to be in the offense's hands. 2-minute situation with a chance to win the game.
Yeah.
And when we're getting down there, we're having a good drive, converting on 4th down, some big plays by Curtis and Taylor, and the O-line did a great job holding up. Cam made a big play. And, in that particular play, when we got down there, it's kind of like a scramble drill.
Yeah.
And we haven't really got a lot of reps on that in games and practice, but I kind of got a feel of when Taylor's going to start extending the play a little bit. And so I actually did the move a few plays before that, but he was looking to the other side of the field. So same situation came up. I kind of ran like a little curl route, and I just wanted to be available.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I put my hand up and he found me. And once I saw the ball in the air, it was like everything was in slow motion. And I really had a lot of confidence I was going to come down with that ball. And so, to be a young kid from Indianapolis where I grew up loving the game of football, to come back as an opponent to make the play to help us win the game, it's a blessing. God's good, man.
So many things stood out from that play.
Yeah.
You were talking to me in London, talking about how you are in the weight room.
Yeah.
I'm like, look at this guy, man. He's showing up and telling us basically what he just talked to us about. But not alone just you having that catch at that stadium. You once played there in high school. You played there, I believe once when you was in college.
Yep.
And now full circle, like you say, full circle moment. You're there in your first time, as an NFL player. I know you relish in these moments.
Yeah.
You know, what did you feel like going into this game? Some of the challenges and some of the things that
Yeah.
you're going to look forward to. You know, and not to even say he's going to be probably matched up on
Right.
you all the time, but when you do
Yeah.
have the opportunity, you know, are you looking forward to that matchup?
No, definitely. I got some experience going against him a few years ago when he was still in Arizona, and he's actually playing at a very high level. You know what I mean? And I think their zone defense allows him to use even more of his smarts and his savviness to make plays. He's really good at reading route combinations. He's good at you know, reading the receiver's body language, and he can still take the ball away if you put it around him. So I'm going in there just studying him and the other corner that they have, and just trying to be ready for my opportunities. But anytime you get to go against any great players in this league, you want to have a good showing. So I just want to go in there and do whatever that my team asks of me this week and try to come out here with a dub.
And we can trust you to do that, man.
Appreciate that.
Once again, we got my man Terry. Back to you.
Yes, sir.
Still to come, we head back in the studio and a flashback to 2012. We relive Washington's big win against the Vikings as the current team hopes to keep their winning streak alive. This season, we are celebrating 90 with Dominion National, and we flash back to Week 6 of 2012. Washington hosting the Vikings. Rookie quarterback Robert Griffin III ran for a game-high 138 yards, including an impressive 76-yard touchdown run in the fourth quarter. And defensively, Washington recorded 4 sacks with 2 interceptions against the Minnesota quarterback Christian Ponder as Washington came away with the 38-26 victory. Okay, so you get that victory. Washington now looking to build on momentum as well heading into this game.
Yeah, man, I remember that game. I can remember Robert's run and just watching him take off down the sideline. I was just like, is he going to make it to the end zone? Just an electric feeling, and the stadium was buzzing.
I mean, I remember being in that play with him and just watching. I just stopped. I didn't even have to run downfield with him. I just knew that this guy was going to get there. He was playing on that ceiling, that year. He was playing lights out.
Yeah, and that year you guys had a 7-game winning streak. Washington looking to try to make it 4 games in a row. Of course, the momentum on their side right now. They just have to keep it going because, again, Minnesota's coming in on a 3-game winning streak as well. Okay, thanks for joining us on this Command Center. We'll see you next time, everybody.